chapter 15. The chapter begins talking about Bangor, which is a town in Maine. And like many towns in Maine, they have a river running through the city. And it had Native American tribes before the Europeans arrived. And he also mentions that the author, that Stephen King, lives in Bangor, and that many of the houses that are still there today, they were built in the 1850s. But some of them, many of them burned down in a fire of 1911. And one of the surviving buildings that stands today, that's where this story begins. So there was this guy, Kyle, and he was leaving his brother's apartment at 2 a.m. And as Kyle was walking, he heard a voice, a female voice. And the voice said, "We are not going to harm you. We're going to make you feel better." And then Kyle fainted. When he was woken up, there was like a bright light. And to the point that he had to cover his eyes. And he got up to check out where he was. And he noticed that he was inside a room that smelled of cleaning solutions and that everything felt sterile. And as he looked around the room, he saw 2 tall, shadowy figures. And they were actually like 2 gray aliens that had very long fingers. They were very tall, and they had like a little mouth. He tried to say something, but like he could not. And then he realized that the communication had to be telepathic. So through his mind, he asked the aliens, like, what were they doing? What do they want? And the aliens said that they were not going to harm him, that they were going to fix him. So in an instant, the 2 aliens were like next to him, and they stood him up, and they began walking him to another room. As they were walking, like he saw another room, and there were like 6 or 7 gray aliens like in a huddle. They were huddled in a circle formation. So they got to the second room, and he was pressed against a board in the middle of the room. And that room also smelled of chemicals. So one of the aliens got close to him, and they were like eye to eye. And they were like kind of like in a staring contest for a while. And the alien placed his hand over Kyle's nose, and he was just terrified. And then he put a black tube inside his nostrils, and Kyle stopped breathing for a moment. And he was screaming. And then he heard the voice again. "It's going to be okay. We're here to help." Then they lay him down on the board, and the board seemed to float above the floor. And despite the boys, Kyle was struggling to break free. The two aliens struggled to hold him in place, and he managed to get one of their feet loose, and he kicked one of them, and he stumbled back, hit against the wall, and slid down. The other alien was scared, and all of a sudden, more aliens rushed into the room. And he tried to fight them off because they were trying to grab him. But he felt weak and dizzy, and he fainted. So when he regained consciousness, he smelled asphalt. He got up and was kind of like dizzy. And he was confused in his surroundings. At this point, he was next to a road. It was daylight. And he checked his watch, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning. He wasn't sure where he was. And he tried to get his bearings to figure out which town he was in. Then a police officer approached him out of nowhere. He kind of came out of thin air. Kyle asked him what street he was on, and the officer gave him a nasty look. And from Kyle's point of view, he disappeared. Then he realized that he was close. He was far from his brother's apartment, but he was close to a friend. So he went to the friend and told him what happened, and the friend was very understanding and very supportive. And his brothers and friends were also very understanding and supportive of him. But he also wanted to speak with somebody that had more experience in the topic. So Kyle reached out to other organizations that help people that experience alien abduction. Even though he was traumatized, he kind of views the event as positive, and that the aliens are giving a message of be happy and as loving as possible. And the author mentions that this story is similar to a previous story in this book, The Man Who Fell to Earth, and to Travis Walton experience in Arizona. And Walton said that even though his experience was traumatic, he believed it was meant to save his life. And they also mentioned that the movie The Fourth Kind, which shows aliens abductions in a negative light. And that's pretty much the end of the chapter. And I think this is a true alien abduction story. I feel like this book talks a lot about UFOs. And they're not that, in my opinion, they're not that interesting. They're just a little ball of light in the sky that vanishes, and not much happens after that. But this is a true alien abduction story. And that is the name of this YouTube channel. And it's pretty fitting. And it's just a nice, good story.